Hello everyone, I am Tacit, and today I'm going to be going over the new Gems of War Mythic of the Piscea. It is available in the Glory Gem Guild and VIP chest for this week only, and then it'll be in the drop table with everything else. Of course, we also got a new faction, which we'll be going over in a video soon after this one. Of course, we just did a full stream on both of these, of which we will not be doing the key opening, as we already did actually open for this on the stream, meaning we already have the teams ready to go. So, as far as this troop is concerned, I would probably advise skipping it. It is pretty bad. It's underneath a very similar category to Wolf Garrick and other similar random Devourer mythics, in that not only do they have a random Devourer that has a random % chance to actually work, but whenever it doesn't devour, it feels like it's doing basically nothing. And this mythic isn't much different. It gets to destroy all green gems and creates a bunch of blue equal to the number of green destroyed. So if you destroy something like 12 green and then you end up creating 12 blue, you'll have a pretty good chance of extra turning, because not only is there less gems on the board, going from 64 down to 52 due to the 12 not being there, but you're also creating a whole 12 to go onto it. The bigger issue is when you don't have a lot of green on the board, there's only like, let's say 5 left, you're only creating 5 green while having 5 less spots on the board, you're not really going to be able to get much value from it. You definitely ideally want to be doing it on at least 8, though sometimes you might have to trying for the Devour, even though it might not be the best of board. And the other issue with it, of course, is the randomness of the Devourer. There are 2 independent 30% chances that it will devour a singular enemy. So you have 2 independent 30%, so each one will be a chance to devour a random enemy, and this can of course devour 2 random enemies if you get lucky, though the bigger issue with it is every single time that it does 0 devours, which will be quite often given that it's only 2 30%. As far as its traits, it doesn't have much going for it. It just has some score reduction, gives a little bit of attack whenever to all allies whenever matching some blue gems, and can get a little bit of stats that way, so even once it dies, it kind of gives a little bit stats downwards. But overall, it is pretty bad, and I would not really advise using this. It's probably like a C tier or D tier mythic, very similar to all the other useless Devourer mythics that currently exist. Not like Iron God, obviously, that's a good Devouring mythic, but of all the like really useless Devouring tier mythics, he is pretty much fits right in there. You still might want to get him just for completionist sake. I believe it does bring Merlantis to 19 star, which is a little bit of tribute bonus and pretty close to that 20 star, but overall it's pretty underwhelming. But nonetheless, we still will be going and showing some teams. First one that we have here is actually a pure Merlantis one, as well as pure Merlantis Merfolk, as actually pure on both of them. However, this uses the Amber Partisan if you happen to have it. Eventually you'll be able to get it in the next Merlantis event if you don't already have it, in which case you'll also be able to try for him in event keys if you want to wait till then and not use your normal keys for him and wait for a different mythic on a different week and just try event keying for him instead. You can always go down that route. However, as far as what it does, it creates a mixture of blue and green. This is pretty relevant because he needs both blue and green. This wasn't as good because there wasn't as too many greens that you could really use it with, but you can kind of use it with Nimue. It kind of has more of a reason to now, like just using it for Nimue just for her kind of like lifesteal thing normally hasn't been that viable, and like the little skull spams that she does. However, in this kind of context, it can be decently useful. Azura I don't feel like does much here. It might actually be better to have a second copy of the mythic, though I feel like a lot of people will not have a second copy of the mythic, let alone even bothering to get to the first copy of the mythic. Hopefully he doesn't loop us here. He's using partial goblin team, so he does have the potential to just instantly wipe us. If nothing else, similar to most of our Merfolk team, this does have a lot of submerge potential, so does that, I guess, going for it. Though submerge is a pretty average stats effect compared to some that reside within the game. Also, we are doing so much off of Skyla skull spam here. His Skyla, but we'll try for a Devour here. Unfortunately, as you can see there, obviously we could have won just by doing skulls there. However, I wanted to see if he can Devour. That is basically the big issue with this mythic. Not only did he not extra turn, though that was a pretty bad board to do it on, I was just trying for it. But we missed 2 30% out of Devour. This will happen more often than not in pretty much every situation where you need it not to. So yeah, it's pretty underwhelming. Obviously, with him in first slot, if you are using him in a first slot composition, he can gain quite a bit of stats once he does get that Devour. The biggest issue is the billion times he doesn't Devour, and if he doesn't get his first Devour down immediately, it's going to be pretty bad. So for the cheaper team, this is the low rarity team, nothing above legendary, other than obviously the mythic itself to show the mythic, but everything else here is epic or below, as we normally do for these. So this one entry ends up using Angry Mob as our mana accumulator. We might want to put that up. I don't know. It depends how you want to do it. I think I might actually put it up a little bit higher in this particular situation. So here we're going to be using Leprechaun. We're using Fiddler and the Angry Mob at this point as kind of like tanking. This is definitely not one that uses him further up in the team, more so as our main Devourer. The only big issue with this against the team that we're up against right now is he does have 1 immune to Devour, which is the main issue that comes into play a lot with this kind of troop or any mythic that is a random Devourer. It comes to the point where you can't do much with it because the enemy has immune. Of course, it does occasionally get those moments. And those moments do feel good, though the consistency of it is not there to make it viable. It did just double devour, and ideally in a perfect world, it would always do that. It is doing really lucky right now. But the big issue with that is the consistency is just not there. So right here we have Angry Mob for our backup. We cannot do anything here, which is the other big issue that comes into play a lot of times. You could try putting Curse onto your team, though I'm not sure where you're going to fit it in most compositions to waste an entire slot to try to put Curse in just to counter Devour. You do on some teams, though there just really is not enough room in most of the compositions that you would use them in to be able to do that. Also, can you place that damage? I've just rolled not damage like 5 times in a row, 6 times in a row. He will eventually do damage. Your luck's worse than this Mythic. Gosh, there we go. That might have been off a Destroy, not even the damage that he does. Ah, there we go. Okay, so next one, of course you can use Merlantis as well if you want to go down a different route. Angry Mobs is nice because it has backup summon, and if you're not using your Piscea in first slot, you're going to need those backup summons like we kind of did there just to make sure we didn't die. And the last one here, this uses a somewhat recent, though this is, I guess, somewhat getting an old weapon. This was a couple months ago. Actually, I believe this was during Nexus, so this was like December, so yeah, a couple months ago. But yeah, it's literally a Nexus weapon. But it explodes a bunch of blue for each blue ally and each elemental. So this is mostly just for a bunch of mana accumulation. Obviously, we have quite a bit of blues here. No elementals, though, oddly enough. But you don't necessarily need it to end up making it work. So here, it's kind of a Lady Arnerial Venoxia team that happens to incorporate the new Mythic. Both Lady Arnerial and Venoxia end up creating both green and blue. So that's the main gimmick that we're going for here, because this Mythic is very green-blue dependent as far as its functionality. When it does want to at least attempt to try to function to any degree, it does need those two colors to do so. So right here, I actually want to preemptively, before we do anything else, cast a Lady Arnerial and hope it lands. The main reason for this is to repopulate the amount of green on the board to make it a little bit better so we can actually try to land an extra turn. Unfortunately, we are frozen on blue right here, so this is going to move us. We also didn't get a single Devourer, as is kind of expected from this thing at this point. We can full board clear, which I'm somewhat tempted to do just to kind of see where we can get things, mostly because the amount of green on the board is not the greatest. We probably want some HP here before he tries killing us. Ideally, we'll get our mana. Unfortunately, that double convert does end up missing, or the double gem spawn, I mean. Hopefully we'll end his turn soon. He might start infinite looping us. Unfortunately, our team doesn't seem to be able to do such a thing. If nothing else, you can use him as a bit of a green counter, I guess, if the enemy team's going to be super green heavy. I don't feel like it'll incorporate itself into Blue Guild War Day, because I highly doubt the AI will use it to any kind of degree that is even remotely useful. So I'm pretty sure you won't be able to go down that route. He has rope darted our most important troop, so that's a little unfortunate. We're going to have to kind of wait for it. And we are probably going to die here, which is what I expect from almost every single one of these battles that we are doing with this Mythic. Though it does look like Venoxia is going to kill us more so than the Mythic. So we can still try for Devour. We tried for it. It can still Devour even while entangled. Does he have immune currently? Never mind, he does have immune. We can't actually go for it. The hero class has it, though. You don't always set it necessarily, though he does have it set. If nothing else, we can use it for green to blue. However, we are ultimately going to have to kill it off of Venoxia, especially since that's the only thing that's alive right now. And we're going to die to rope dart here. Let's see. What's the best bet to try to not die? There really isn't one. Yeah, there really isn't one. Just going to take that over for now. Try for Skull for Sky. If nothing else denies it, and we're dead. And almost. But yeah, the Mythic overall, these were mostly just teams just to kind of show what it can kind of be incorporated into. However, I do not advise using this Mythic. If you're getting this Mythic, you're literally getting it for completionist's sake. I do not really see much of a situation where this thing is really going to come out at all. When it gets super lucky and you do like a double Devour into extra turn into double Devourer against a team that happens to have no immune to Devour, then those situations are going to be pretty good. I don't feel like it's going to be consistent enough to explore 12, even if you're doing it in some place that doesn't have any immune to Devour, like Golvania or something similar. It just doesn't seem like it's going to have enough consistency compared to like an Iron God Zugoff, other similar instant kill kind of options, or even just running AoE or some kind of gold farming team on Explore 12. It just does not seem that consistent. And while you are going to have battles that is going to like 2-cast, 3-cast very quickly, get all the mana accumulation, just kill them out with Devour, there's also going to be battles where you're up against like 2 Imperviouses. It keeps hitting the things that have Impervious, if it even hits any Devours at all, and it's just not going to work out that well. And even if you're going down Curse Devour route, you have to go use an entire slot to go put the Curse onto your team just to make a troop that isn't really that good just to function properly against the team. So overall, I would say this is pretty much just a complete completionist mythic. You're not really grabbing this thing at any point for any reason other than to get more stars on Merlantis. Maybe you have no mythics there and you want to get one so you can get 10 star. Maybe you just want to get literally every single thing in the game. You just want to have it for the sake of having it. Or maybe you want to get the mythic because it's better to have a mythic that you don't have rather than a repeat of a mythic you do. And even though it's not going to be used for anything other than a kingdom upgrade, at least it's a kingdom upgrade and not a repeat. So there's those factors. But overall, I would say it's probably a skip. For most people, this is going to be a skip. It is very, very not worth getting this mythic unless you're doing so from a kingdom upgrading or completionist standpoint. But from a using this mythic, it is very, very bad and inconsistent. Reminds me the most, I would say, of Wolf Garrick. Wolf Garrick has pretty much the same mechanic, except you get to control a little bit of the damage, but it has no mana accumulation, so it doesn't have like extra turn chance. But at least there it gets like a damage poke. This doesn't even have a damage poke. When it misses its mana, you're literally just feeding the enemy a bunch of blue while doing absolutely nothing. So it's pretty bad. I would skip, and that is pretty much the consensus on this. Anyways, I will catch you guys later. Hope you all have a best of luck if you are going to be trying for it. Be covering the faction very soon as well if you're looking for any info on that. And of course, we'll be covering a lot of guide videos in the near future. Scheduling our video schedule has been a little bit weird lately. I don't think I've actually mentioned in the video, though I'll be mentioning a couple of them. Of course, I mentioned on stream, but I do currently have some stuff being done to my house, and it make a lot of noise during the day, which makes it kind of hard to even record anything that has any kind of sound to it. So I haven't really been able to cover the weekly video and other similar things like that, which is why we're covering this so late or so early in the morning or late at night, depending on how you look at it. But anyways, guys, we'll have the stuff on the final faction coming up soon too. So best of luck with the mythic, and I'll see you guys soon. Goodbye, everyone. Thanks for watching.